In the last video about drugs, I said, they are awesome, but, and my mom said that title was misleading as hell. My mom also says I didn't talk about the downsides in detail enough. So here's the plan. Every drug I've ever heard of or taken, put into a tier list. Also maybe a few instances of personal experience added in just for some spice on top. So here it is, the drugs tier list from somebody who has not done every drug but knows enough about drugs to give a formed opinion. Trademark. Also, this is a throwback to literally like one of the first videos I posted on my channel ever back in like 7th or 8th grade. It was for a school project. So now I got part 3 to the series. Let's get it crack-a-lacking. Alcohol, mid C tier. It won't get you in trouble with the law on its own because it's legal unless you are underage, so that's already a plus. However, it can make you act in a way that will get you arrested because false confidence and a superiority complex are not the best combination. You might end up fighting somebody at the function simply because they looked at you wrong. I don't know how it is in other countries, but at least here in Freedom Land, it's extremely cheap to get alcohol, starting from like $5 up to like $500 and sometimes in excess of that amount. It'll turn you into a social butterfly at the function, but if you drink it too much, it'll fuck up your liver. It will also get you chemically addicted, which, to specify for later in the video, there is a difference between a physical chemical addiction versus a psychological addiction. Also, yakking or throwing up is a big risk that you take every time you start drinking for any reason, because it's toxic to your body. If you have too much of it, you're just gonna fucking barf everywhere. Maybe you're somebody who likes to barf into the recycling bin. I once got really lit one night, had like 5 or 6 shots, multiple different cups of shit I can't even tell you. I had sushi that same night and I yacked 10 times in 3 hours. You hold in your pee for too long, it's wraps. You start stumbling, it's wrap. Honestly, this one I would just say know your limits, be around some friends. As long as you stay in your comfort zone, you'll have a pretty enjoyable time. Alright, next up we have wacky tobacco, D tier. There's definitely worse, but it's still a big old pack of Yankee Danky Doodle. Tobacco I can't really rock with, and as most people, when I think of tobacco, I think of cigarettes or chewing tobacco or dip. It's just fucking gross. Tastes like shit, super harsh when you inhale it, and it's super addictive, and you only get a buzz. Definitely not up my alley. Apart from like actual tobacco, there are other ways to get nicotine into your system, mainly being all these electronic jewel pods, puff bars, Vuse pods, all that shit. Vapes don't do as much lung damage as like inhaling actual smoke, but you're still inhaling something that's not air. Granted, you're doing water vapor versus actual particles. It's still not air. That's something that you're just gonna have to accept when you're inhaling not air. You know what I mean. I'm not gonna fucking badger about nicotine or tobacco, because you know the Orange Truth ads, they've done that shit enough for like decades. I don't have to press the issue. Most people who are using nicotine are completely aware. Also, if you ever faced a blunt to yourself, a spliff, use jewel, anything, you know about the nic sick. It's when you get too much in your system and it makes you feel fucking sick. It's not a fun experience. You get very queasy and your head starts to hurt. You probably already know the downsides when you start anyways, so let's just keep moving forward. Also, just because you put some gas in it does not make it better. I know I talked about blunts and spliffs, but Josh Kesselman says that blunts are just a modern day cigarette. Speaking of gas, my recreational substance of choice, marijuana, Mary Jane, cannabis, de vos letos, lucifers la chuga. This is an undisputed A tier bridging on S tier. The only reason I can't put it in S tier is because for some reason I still feel like, even though this is my opinion, I can't put anything into S tier. There's not much to it. The high is good. The price range is pretty acceptable depending on where you're at. I know some places it can get pretty high. I've seen in my area an eighth going for $80. It's not chemically or physically addictive, but you can develop the psychological or habit form dependency. It's all sort of the same thing. Widely attainable and comes in many different forms: flour, concentrates in cartridges, edibles, tinctures, topicals. I'm sure I've missed some shit. Sometimes if you're a little bit too high the night before, you might wake up with a high hangover, which is honestly just a little bit of sluggishness. Like I said before, if you're choosing to smoke, you're still inhaling something that's not air, so take that into account. That's not good for your lungs long term. Even I've started to decrease how much I actually inhale smoke versus like other forms of consumption. You know, while I do enjoy sparking a nice J or two, one thing I can say is that the smell of actual burning plant matter becomes quite inconvenient on multiple occasions. People will know that you stink and then will still find a reason to let you know that you stink because it's still more taboo than like cigarette smoke. You will get looks, you will hear people talking about you. The lady at the dining hall just might let the entire line know that somebody smells like weed while looking you dead in your face. I'm not speaking from personal experience. Everyday use of any drug that's not prescribed can cause problems. I know for me, with weed specifically, I started to get super fucking lazy and I didn't want to leave my room whatsoever. I was prioritizing smoking as being like the number one of my day rather than like making it like a top, like the cherry on top of the sundae. I'd make it like the entire sundae and then try and figure out toppings about everything. Like, that was a terrible analogy. I fucking ruined it. I lost it. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Also important to note that this shit is still illegal in multiple states. Even medicinal states, you can get in trouble for sparking a J outside of your residence. Keep it under your legal limit. Keep your card on you. If you're in a illegal state, like you live in Utah, I don't got shit for you, bro. Psychedelics and hallucinogens are going to work as a pair in this, and they're also going to go into the C tier. Magic mushrooms, LSD, DMT, mescaline, which is like the magic cactus. There's a couple others that we won't be discussing simply because they're on like a don't try basis for most people. The effects of these are all in your head. Cognitive abilities definitely be changing. You have distorted perceptions of sounds and visions. Things might get a little mushy, wavy. You can't sleep with all the serotonin and dopamine flowing through your system at Mach 1. However, over consistent use and even first time use, there are no reported withdrawal symptoms, which is one of the major takeaways for psychedelics. Is that it's all about your set and setting, meaning set mindset. If you have a negative mindset towards it and all you think about is you're going to have a bad trip, you're more than likely going to have a bad trip. Setting being your physical location. Don't go drop 3 tabs and then walk into the middle of a crowd and try and talk to everybody. Always have a trip sitter with you physically or on standby. All it takes is one, be off into Alice in Wonderland. Having somebody there that's sober to ground you is very advantageous for you so you don't get lost in the sauce. Meth, crack cocaine, MDMA, Adderall, all that shit, all classified as stimulants. Stimulants as a recreational substance go into the F tier. First off, Adderall is a prescription drug, but I'm sure you can understand based off of the names I read that aren't Adderall why I would put this in F tier. Highly addictive even from the first encounter. Gets you acting out of your fucking mind. I know you've seen that video of the crackhead who backflipped off a 3-story house and landed that bitch. The meth heads who scratched half their face and neck off just like 36 hours into a meth binge. Not something you want to play with. I know MDMA is like the love drug or whatever the fuck, but it's also known as the suicide drug because people will take it and have no dopamine left in their system and they're just like sad and depressed for days following and they don't even think they can handle it, so they just off themselves. I read a story recently about a guy who got fired from his job, tried crack once. The following days, this man went on a crack binge all day, every day. Sold both of his cars for crack money. He is now dead, and that was all in about 2 weeks. These are the stories they tried to tell us about weed, by the way. You get like a euphoric feeling for the duration of the high. So you get euphoric for like 30 minutes to a couple hours, and then you want to kill yourself. Possibly. Not my cup of tea. Benzos and opioids, I have not done. Stay away, though, that's a F tier for sure. Think of like Juice WRLD and Mac Miller. That's been enough for me personally to just know. I mean, even prior to that, not wanting to fuck with that, but that just set it in stone. Fentanyl, Xans, Oxy, Scissor, nah, F tier, pass. We like safe drug use, if any. And lastly, the strongest drug of them all, highest of all highs. The words of the Almighty, we don't do drugs around here. Just pointing out some shit that people might not have known and giving some life stories in the process. Yeah, that's about it. I see you guys in the next one.
Is you wills or is you ain't my baby? The way you acting lately makes me down. You is still my baby, baby.